Hello, welcome to the Pony Room at the Madonna Inn. That's me. Yep, me. I'm Colby Kirkpatrick, marketing manager here at TPG. Let me give you a little context. I'm a total points and miles novice, and as they say, the best way to learn something is just by doing it. So my partner Nate and my friend Dedrick and I hit the road for 5 days and set out on one of the most classic American road trips, up California's Pacific Coast Highway from Los Angeles to San Francisco. But here's the catch. We attempted to cover our flights, car rental, accommodation, gas, and activities only using points and miles. What lessons did we learn on the road, you ask? Did Hollywood chew me up and spit me out? Did we do it all with $0 out of pocket? Well, let me guide you through our itinerary. Before we dive in, you and I need to cover some groundwork. This whole $0 points only trip was made possible by my 3 beginner-friendly credit cards, each of which has different perks that allow me to earn rewards and redemptions for nearly every purchase. I like to think of my 3 cards as my 3 favorite hats. I pack all 3 in my suitcase, but I wear each at different times throughout my trips and for different reasons. My classic baseball cap would be my Chase Sapphire Preferred card, and I like it because it's a versatile card that works great as a starting point for your points and miles journey. When I signed up last year, I earned 100,000 points after making $4,000 in purchases in the first 3 months. Those 100,000 points are worth $1,250 towards travel. I can also redeem points for travel through the Chase portal for $1.25 a piece. In beginner talk, that means I can just redeem my points at a solid rate directly through Chase for things like hotel stays and flights if I don't want to hassle with frequent flyer or hotel programs. My pink cowboy hat is my Capital One Venture X Rewards credit card. It's a premium travel card that is super easy to use, but makes me feel like a points and miles expert. The sign-up bonus is subject to change, but when I applied, I was able to earn 100,000 miles after spending $10,000 on purchases in the first 6 months. Those miles are worth $1,000 for travel, potentially more if you take advantage of Capital One's airline and hotel transfer partners. My Blue Cash Preferred card from American Express is my tie-dye bucket hat. It's a great cashback card for gas and groceries that rounds out the benefits of my beginner arsenal. The first year's annual fee was $0 before it goes up to $95. I earned $300 cash back in my welcome offer after spending $3,000 on purchases in the first 3 months. And finally, for flights to and from the West Coast, I booked through the Chase travel portal using 28,928 points, which saved me $362 out of pocket. All right. The groundwork has been covered. Now for the fun part. To kick off our Pacific Coast Highway road trip, we flew from New York City to Los Angeles. LA, the city of dreams and In-N-Out Burger. First up on our itinerary, renting a car. A car is the primary ingredient to any road trip, and we rented ours through Dollar Rent-A-Car. I used the Venture X to rent our sweet Chevy Tahoe for the week for $380 through the Capital One travel portal, since the card offers up to $300 in annual statement credits towards travel booked through the portal. Then I used my Capital One miles to cover the remaining $80 at a rate of 1 cent per mile, so I'm using 8,000 miles for the extra cost of the rental. We officially anointed our Tahoe as the Pointsmobile. We only had 24 hours in LA, so obviously we made the most of it. We laid by the pool, we went on a sad excuse for a very hot hike. So our plan was to hike to the back of the Hollywood sign, but due to poor signage and gay men not being able to follow directions, we just walked around some tennis courts and realized we were very far from the Hollywood sign.
So we're
way up.
Wait, where even is it?
We're here.
We started over there.
We're here.
So we had a nice little jaunt in and around the LA hills and mountains, but failed to ever see the back of the sign. Our first night was spent at the Tommy Hotel in Hollywood. It's a World of Hyatt Category 4 property, so I transferred 15,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards points to my Hyatt account and then used them to book a night that would have cost $300 otherwise. The next morning, we hopped on the 101 and headed towards Buellton. We gassed up at Jack Colker's 76 station, originally designed to be on site at the LAX airport. Our gas budget for the trip came out of that $300 cashback welcome offer from the Amex Blue Cash Preferred. So while I'd consider gas to be free thanks to that cash back, the card also earns 3% back at US gas stations as well on transit, like taxis and ride-hailing services. Like the old truism says, points beget more points. We made 2 very important stops along our first 2-hour and 20-minute route. I've been obsessed with ostriches my entire life, so going to the sanctuary was absolutely a dream come true for me until I actually met the ostriches. I was both amazed and also equally terrified. We also stopped in the beautifully quaint town of Solvang, California, where there is just eye candy to be seen all over. We stopped at the Hans Christian Andersen Museum. That was the cutest, most idyllic little museum above a bookstore that I've ever seen. It captured the author's whole life as well as some of the early inspirations into a lot of his famous fables and fairy tales. And then we also popped into this antique clock store and had about an hour-long conversation with some of the associates there and learned all about old clocks from the 1800s. It truly was the most wholesome little town in all of America. Our home for the evening was this rustic glamping tent at Flying Flags RV Resort and Campground, which is the dose of Americana you never knew that you desperately needed. This resort has small cabins, it's got places for RVs, it's got these glamping tents, and it's got a cross-section of everyone in America staying at it. We used my Venture X to book our stay at this quirky glamping RV park hybrid directly on its website. You can redeem Capital One miles at 1 cent a piece for travel purchases made within the past 90 days. So I used 19,200 of them to cover the $192 nightly rate. Next stop, San Luis Obispo. On tap for day 3 were 2 equally wholesome pit stops. First, we were going to take a detour at Morro Bay to kayak in an area practically teeming with sea otters and sea lions, but it was too windy, and instead we just went to see the sea lions at a little beach outcropping. Honestly, what I enjoyed more than the sea lions is there were some squirrels at this beach pull-off. Nate literally fed one out of his bare hand. It was truly like a Snow White Hans Christian Andersen moment full circle.
Why are they not scared? Ah!
Then we took a trip back to one of my favorite ever discoveries for my solo travels, Poly Canyon. This 9-acre swath of land at Polytechnic State University is a playground of experimentation for the school's engineering, architecture, and design students.
Look at the scale!
There's all these structures built by the students at Cal Poly over the last 20 or so years. The landscape is beautiful, the structures themselves are beautiful as well. Back in civilization, the evening took us to the Madonna Inn, easily one of the quirkiest, campiest hotels in all of America. Here, every room has its own design and own theme, and we were staying in the pony room, which meant a giant carousel-style pony in the middle of the room. It is the gaudiest, most beautiful spectacle to behold. We used the Chase travel portal to book this campy classic to the tune of 18,000 points, saving me a booking that would have cost $210 if I had paid cash.
Pony.
Another day, another highway. And we set out for one of the most scenic parts of the route at Pfeiffer Big Sur State Park and its gorgeous purple sand beach. It was super windy, like cowboy hat blow off head windy. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, as gorgeous as this beach is, it is not entirely purple. There are small pockets of purple-ish sand, emphasis on the ish. It's not quite a purple sand beach. After a day full of activities, it was time to think about food and that inevitable trip to the grocery store. One of the points and miles basics that took me the longest to wrap my mind around is that spending money strategically on the right card earns more rewards or cash back. It kind of feels like cheating at economics. With my Amex Blue Cash Preferred, what I'd consider to be the ultimate grocery card, I earn 6% back on up to $6,000 in purchases at US supermarkets each calendar year, meaning that I get $6 cash back from a $100 grocery run. With the snacks and groceries secured for the evening, we set off across the street to our home for the night. Ripplewood Cabins, an off-the-grid Big Sur experience. For our evening at Ripplewood, we stayed in a very lovely logwood cabin that had a living room, bedroom, full kitchen, as well as a fire pit and deck. We built a bonfire and roasted s'mores. We stargazed. We truly checked all the Big Sur boxes in these really lovely cabins. We used my Venture X to book our night at this remote oasis. You can redeem Capital One miles at 1 cent a piece for travel purchases, so I used 25,000 of them to cover the $250 nightly rate. Day 5 was a very special day on the road because we visited the setting of a classic American film sequel, the Monterey Aquarium, the backdrop of Finding Dory. So we actually weren't able to take any cameras into the aquarium because of rules, but the aquarium is truly, I think, the best in America. Up next, we headed to Dust Bowl Brewing Co., a train station turned brewery in the heart of Monterey. Here, we had a great sampling of some beers and also enjoyed food trucks parked out back. Using my Chase Sapphire, I received 3 points per dollar on dining purchases. With our bellies full, it was time to head a bit further up Highway 1 to our final layover, a solar-powered Airbnb tiny home in the Redwoods. So our tiny home was an absolute dream. It was kind of the perfect way to reflect on what was a really great trip, to just kind of unplug. We didn't have cell service, so we truly just enjoyed the nature that was surrounding us and just kind of like getting back to basics before we headed back to the East Coast. We used another perk from the Venture X to book this quaint little Airbnb, a $200 statement credit for vacation rentals that I earned as a part of the card's welcome bonus. And all I had to do was book the Airbnb using my Venture X within the first year of having the card, and a few days later, the credit was posted directly on my account. The home stretch. San Francisco was our final destination on this PCH road trip. And I actually used to live in San Francisco for 2 years, so we didn't do a whole lot here, but here's a shot of the Golden Gate Bridge. I can officially say that this experiment has taken me from a points and miles infant to a points and miles toddler, but I've learned a lot, and that's all part of the process. Yes, I do work at the Points Guy, but I've exclusively used my debit card for everything until I started here about 8 months ago, which is really crazy to think about now. One of my biggest takeaways from this trip is just really rationalizing that there is a slew of bonus points up for grabs for nearly every spend category and every purchase, if you're just willing to do a little research and play your cards right. And one of my other big takeaways was that road trips just really are the best way to travel with friends. It forces you in the car together to unplug and just learn things about each other that you never knew before. And thanks to some advice from my colleagues and reading some of their articles, I was able to accumulate 200,000 points across 3 cards in less than a year. And with that, I was able to take a week-long trip with these great pals for $0. It's easier than I thought, and if I can do it, trust me, so can you. Well, that's all she wrote. Until next time.